Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. And welcome everybody to another Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. I've got another amazing guest. My God, this person is a real powerhouse. 25 years, out there, out in the quantum field and here on Earth to help us all with our health and well-being and helping even the helpers out there, the other doctors and practitioner people in health. I'll let her explain it better than I can, but helping to activate people into higher levels of health. We've heard of functional medicine. She's about that. We've heard about all these different things, but do we really understand them? Do we know even like what it means to heal in the quantum? Oh yeah, quantum, we're just downloading it. Okay, but you're going to learn so much more. Elena's got like a massive array of information to share with you. And we're going to get into it today. So Elena, I'm so grateful to have you here today.
Hello, Daniel, and hello, everyone. And thank you so much for the introduction and for having me on your show.
Sure thing. Yeah, I'm so grateful, so excited. Let me tell them about all about you here. Elena is a founder of Holistic Quantum Healer Institute, a #1 Amazon bestseller in holistic medicine and a pioneer in the field of functional, regenerative, and quantum medicine. She has been sharing her gift of healing for, like I said, over 25 years. Her journey began as a clinical pharmacist. Isn't it cool? Like with all this, big pharma, and she's come from that background in terms of being a pharmacist, right? So it'd be fascinating what we hear from her today. Then became a board certified in functional, regenerative, anti-aging, and quantum medicine. Have helped thousands of people all over the world find inner peace, vibrant wholeness, profound healing, and help reclaim energy with proven natural programs. Together with her life partner, Alejandro Ferradas, hopefully, did I get it right that time?
Yes, Ferradas, yes.
Oh, awesome. They created a groundbreaking vibrational frequency system analyzing quantum field using scalar wave technology, reading thousands of people across the globe from historical figures to private clients to help raise the consciousness of humanity. All right, so all that and much more, right? So, oh my goodness, there's a lot of talk about the quantum and everything. I haven't really heard the term a whole lot. This idea of quantum health, though. Maybe that's a good place for us to start today. Like, what the heck is quantum health? Everyone, I know what the quantum is, but I don't know. So, but what is quantum health? What's that all about?
So quantum health, I would say, entails, it's part of holistic health, is part of quantum health. It entails not just our physical system, not just our mental state, our emotional state, but the actual blueprint of everything that exists in the universe and everything that radiates from us. So we can be in alignment with our ideal blueprint that we came here with an intention to experience this reality, or we can be out of alignment. And when there's that out of alignment that's happening, this is when most of the time events and situations in our life will occur, whether it's through different people in our life. They begin to bring mirrors to us that will make us feel uncomfortable. And the reason that these uncomfortable situations happen is for us to remember who we are. So the quantum field, the quantum medicine, is about freedom, because ultimately health is freedom, and it's about remembering our true powerful essence and aligning with that path.
Okay. All right. I like that definition. So it's really, wow. It's like everything points back to living the truth of who we are in a way, right? I mean, that's kind of what I'm hearing is, yeah, we've got all the functional medicine stuff, which actually you could say connects directly into quantum, right? So, but we've got all the physical stuff, so-called physical stuff we can do, and all this. But yeah, ultimately, it's like living the truth of who you are. And doesn't that mean like whatever like will bring someone in quantum health is going to be so individualized. You know, we hear so many things like we're starting to evolve past it, right? But in health, because I listen to a ton of quite a few videos on all kinds of things health, right? I'm just one of those type of people. I'm just like I literally hear the same information millions of times. It seems like, but I like to hear it anyway, right? This will do that. This will raise that level. This will do that. It's just fun to hear, right? And but yeah, when we're talking about quantum health, we're talking about going beyond that. So actually, like I was going to go another direction, but I'm wondering, like, how do we tap into that? How do we begin to tap into what quantum health is for us? How do you help people with that?
Mhm. So there's different approaches. First approach, I would say, from medical providers, it's important to understand that each human being is as unique as a fingerprint. So therefore, there's never one approach to all. And unfortunately, right now, there's through media, right, that connects the whole globe, there's so much advertisement that is geared in the functional medicine world towards sort of one treatment, one detox, one protocol that treats absolutely all people across the board. I'm a believer that we all need precision, customized, whether it's herbal treatment, homeopathy, acupuncture, it needs to be based on what the person needs. From an individual perspective, what I'm seeing is in the last 10 years, there's been a massive shift that people are researching, advocating for their health, becoming more and more curious. So it's important that as a human being, you don't fall into the trap of being sold something to as a solution. It's important to keep your mind open and stay curious, because your body, it's important that you align with your physical system and you realize your body is communicating something that is very important. And oftentimes, right, you go to a healthcare provider and they'll say, I have this solution for you, without truly understanding what is happening on an individual basis. So on both sides, right, we have a human being who is absolutely curious and interested. People are becoming much more awakened. And this is why I think medical system slowly is shifting. This is one of the places I think that's going to have to break down in many parts of the world in order to bring what is needed for each individual. And that will be and is customized precision medicine that is based on a quantum field, that is based on aligning the human blueprint or individual blueprint with the person that's coming to seek the treatment. And also know that we as individuals are responsible for what is happening to us. We're not the victims. We're not here seeking, bypassing, give me a pill, give me a miracle cure. This is a conversation that has to change in order to heal who we are and achieve the ultimate health, the freedom that we're all seeking.
Yeah, because if I think about my own journey, if I get into that, like I've had a common, what's a pretty common issue with back pain in the past, which it's funny, like the most recent stuff I've heard, which I've heard in the past, is I wonder if you have this idea about all different maladies. It's all psychological, right? We just clear up the frequency and the psychology, your back will feel absolutely fine. It's not the bulging disc or this. That's not what, because people get bulging discs and they have no pain, right? They can have herniated discs maybe and not have pain. I mean, it's possible, right? You would know better than me, but from what I've heard, but I had all this pain. I've had many episodes in the past with the back issues for a good 2-3 years. Something must have shifted. Well, things shifted in the physical, like what I do, because I learned, like having so many years of back pain, I'm like, when I do this, it triggers it, right? Like when I do certain things, okay. So don't do it. When I do these things, I seem to do better and I feel better. And it's like preventative and it helps me. And so, I learned like weightlifting is really good, right? Strengthen those muscles. I sit a lot for my job, as it turns out. When I stretching is a foundation. And pretty much even just those two foundations are huge, without me getting everything. but like I found out different things. These are the things to add in and keep consistent. Here are the things to watch out for, to eliminate or minimize, regardless of what all the experts say. Well, you should be doing powerlifting and all. Oh no, not with my back. I don't think so. Probably not. I'm open to anything, but so you find out, and for me, it's a deep journey, right? Like I'm learning so much about myself and what that means. Well, do you need to be the power lifter, Daniel? Is that really the season for you right now? No, right? So for me, right at this moment, no, that's not my season of life or my learning school. It's about realizing it's enough, whatever you're doing, it's enough, right? Whatever it is, each person is learning something very deeply through their journey with whatever on the suffering, when they get to the suffering, right? You do optimizing too, but we go just to, because people are quicker to deal with what pain than to optimize. So we talk about different maladies. Is that part of what you help people with in your approach? Like, yeah, there's a reason why you're experiencing it. So let's take a deeper look on the energetic and psychological levels and everything. Is that part of it?
So yes, I mean, so first I would say the first step of what I do is I'm looking into what is happening acutely in the person at the moment, whether they're aware of it or not, right? It could be bloating, it could be chronic fatigue, unexplained mystery symptoms, like they've gone to many different healthcare providers and they cannot figure out what's happening. So it is important to look at the physical body, number one, because we are living in this reality. You cannot bypass this, right? And I often give an example of those of you that own a car, right? At least once a year, you go to a mechanic. A mechanic will give you a list of all the things that need to be fixed in your car. You're not going to say, okay, well, let's just fix one thing and let's ignore everything else, because what's going to happen is your car is going to stop driving. It's going to break down. So with that, oftentimes people will have an aha moment. Oh, yeah, I do need to take care of myself. So I look at their diet, because it's important to test and see what is creating inflammation in the body, whether it's bacteria, parasites, fungus, candida. The gut microbiome is the key. So that's usually one of the first places I'll start. We look at the brain function, and then we look at the belief systems. Oftentimes people don't realize that we store information in our cells. Our cells, our tissues, our body is listening to our thoughts. So yes, our thoughts, our mind, and our physical body is interconnected. So yes, I test for different emotions and limiting beliefs, because that also empowers a person of how they can change their belief system by doing certain practices. So yes.
Yeah, and isn't it true? I've seen this anyway. I've seen where people are like, no medicine, no like Western medicine, none of that. They go to that level, and or no focusing on the physical cause. We're only going to go metaphysical here. We're only going to look at the belief systems. We're only going to pray to the angels. We're only going to do this. We're only going to do that. And maybe they even have the big breakthrough, right? But one of those people I remember, she went through. Now she actually did both, but I've seen people do that and even clear a cancer, but it can come back, this idea, like I only do this. Like I think that gets people in trouble. Sometimes that it may work, but I think people get in a concept, right? Like if I only do this one thing, then I'm going to be fine, rather than wanting to look at what's really happening, what's the real truth. Have you figured out why we tend to look for the one thing all the time? That's why all the advertising out one weird trick that'll solve all your problems. Like what is that? Why do people do that? I mean,
Danielle, I think it's such a great point that you just brought up. It's actually, to me, the same thing. It's the same thing as allopathic medicine, which in some ways we do need it, right? As emergency medicine, it's important that it's there. And then the spiritual kind of metaphysical work. To me, in majority of cases, both are disconnected. What I'm seeing is there has to be a bridge that's built. And the future practitioners, which I'm training at the moment, future practitioners, whether it's medical providers or those that are in the realm of metaphysics, understand each other. They know how to communicate. So it cannot be a disconnected system. We're not just the body, and we're not just, we're not just the soul. Why do people do this? I think it goes back to the root, which is, I'm the victim. Please give me something to fix me. Something is seriously wrong. And it is seeking for that help outside of yourself. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with receiving great advice from whether you're seeing a healthcare provider or metaphysical practitioner, but it's important that both of those systems have a communication language. There's something that's going on. For example, if you are struggling with a lot of physical symptoms, it's important that someone looks and sees, do you have parasites? Is your microbiome completely screwed up? Right? It most likely it is. Are you suffering from adrenal fatigue? Do you have bacteria, candida? Is your diet creating inflammation? Is your lifestyle not supporting you? So just by going and meditating, which I think that I love meditation, and I think it should be part of every prescription to feel our very best. But if you're just going for energy work and meditation, you're neglecting what is happening in the physical body. And oftentimes I've had people who would come to me and say, I went to this metaphysical practitioner and they told me I'm moving into 5D, and actually I don't need my physical body. She told me all my organs are crystallized, that this is not part of my ascension process. I can leave my body behind. In most cases that I've seen, people are having severe issues. You cannot neglect the physical body. So again, my advice will be, don't seek for a miracle cure. You are the cure. It's important that you go to healthcare providers that are understanding the language of both, or at least one that can communicate to the other and understand what is happening in your system at the moment.
Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free Meditate, Make Money meditation today. Yeah, in that case, the example you gave, I'm thinking, yeah, you won't need your physical body pretty soon. If you keep going down that path, right? You won't need it anymore. Yeah, you're right. You'll just leave. You will ascend in a sense. You will be leaving your body. You keep going down that path. So yeah, there's a lot of different, different concepts and ideas that go on for people. And yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, you go to the doctor, they hand you the script, right? And that fixes it. So that's still ingrained in a lot of people, I suppose. Maybe not as much our listeners, but still there. It's a very deep hypnosis. I want to say, like, this is how it works. You go, you get the pill, you're better. I also think, like, people, for whatever reason, I think, again, it's in the lower brain or whatever. This is maybe a tangent, but I think it's kind of important. It's like, how do I survive? What's the one thing I need that's most efficient that will just take care of this so I can survive and I won't be dead? And, it's like, so it narrows the focus, right? So we're not looking at, like, when you get acutely ill, you're not thinking what you might think about the million things you could do, but ultimately, like, when it gets really, especially you're going to die fast, what's the one thing right now? And so I think a lot of times, like, that's what gets it becomes a problem. Maybe, I don't know, I'll relate it to my back thing maybe. Well, really the only time this happens is when I do tennis and I'm going too aggressively, right? And then the next time I play tennis and I'm not aggressive, then still having back problem, right? Oh, I guess that's not true, right? You keep learning. The truth is persistent. No, not actually, right? So we try to, deny things too, right? We don't want to deal with it. Psychologically too uncomfortable because it's too overwhelming, maybe, for some people to take the approach that it sounds like you take. And it may not be accurate, but okay, she's going to throw this at it, that at it. What are we talking? 30 grand we're going to need to
Oh gosh, no.
optimize. And we got to handle all these things. So I guess, yeah. So thanks for listening. Let me go on and on here for a second. But so is it possible? Because I always wonder, is it possible? When I listen to all these people, I wonder, is it possible we can go too far to the other extreme? oh my God, we got 1,000 levels of checking the body, the blood, this, that, or whatever, like all these different things. And oh, we got to address them all. You know, if we tweak that, that'll add 2% more life to you. And then this one, blah, blah, blah. And can we go too far the other way with all the lotions, potions, and ideas of what we could be doing?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think it's important that whoever is looking for that kind of a practitioner know that they're the best at what they do. I would say look for mastery. And the mastery is not going to give you, as you said, 30,000 things, you know, or $30,000 worth of things to do. I don't believe in that. And I believe that there's things that can be looked at acutely, like what is happening in your system right now. And I think that's the number one area to approach. And what are some natural modalities that a person and lifestyle changes that a person can incorporate to support and shift their mindset, their lifestyle, their diet, because all of that will lead to chronic inflammation. And then, of course, it's important to look into relationships in our lives, because that can also contribute to boosting your health or depleting your health. And actually, a lot of times chronic back pain is also linked to relationships in our life. I don't know if you knew that. I'm sure you probably already knew that. But everything is a mirror reflection of our inner state of being. So I don't believe you have to spend crazy amount of money. But I do believe it's important to find somebody who is a master. It's important that they have enough testimonials that you can read. Perhaps you can reach out to people. Oftentimes, I think, and even on my website, for example, it's important that if you do have public figures that you've worked with, that you have their website so you can see it's actually real people and not just like some made up random things, right, that people will post. And it's important that you interview your healthcare provider. They are applying for a job with you, and that is the most important job. So don't be embarrassed to ask a lot of questions. I think it's very important.
Right. Yeah, totally. Totally. I know, yeah, I don't know that I asked a lot of questions with the doctor I have, but he's a holistic doctor. He's got a texting kind of service and everything. And it's just work. That's the nice thing with the technology these days. It's like, I can ask him any question anytime if I really wanted to, like, okay, what about this? What about that? And have a powerful relationship with him. I think building a powerful relation. I've gone to people that are supposed to be brilliant holistic practitioners, and we didn't gel. Just a personality thing. And I just, oh my God, I don't want to get into the story, but it was
It's
horrible.
a frequency thing. It's a frequency thing. You just might not be a frequency match.
Right, exactly. He might be the walk on water and be the most loving, kind man to someone else, but that wasn't my experience. There was something going on in the frequency. Absolutely. Good way to put it. So it's interesting. We're talking about the quantum and the importance of that. I want to get more into that, but let's get back and maybe into the basics first. Yeah, you're right. You want to find somebody that obviously is credible and has all the testimonials and is looking at you as in a holistic way. I think like you got to be crazy not to go to a doctor that isn't doing that in this day and age. But I do want to get into the specifics with like diet there, because again, there's so many people that have so many ideas about diet, right? Okay, we all agree sugar ain't so great for you, right? Or in mass quantities, etc., especially refined sugar, etc. So, all right, so we agree on that. After that, we probably start to find like there's experts that disagree about everything else. Salt's good for you. No, salt's bad for you. No, this is. And, my take on it again is it's the individual. Every individual is going to be different. Maybe one person, just in terms of like their own being and their body is going to be better off to be fully vegan or something, and, or whatever. And then maybe someone else, no, that's the wrong approach. Vegan diet is toxic for them or something, like to go full out that way. That could be possible. I know people think that's crazy, but it could be possible. It happens, like where they become iller on a totally strict vegan diet, right? So there isn't any one approach. So how do you how do you help someone with their diet? Do you look at the microbiome? Do you, actually do analysis of the microbiome in depth? How do you approach that?
So number one, I look at their microbiome. Absolutely. Number two, I look into what food sensitivities they have. And it's very important that people realize it's not just what you're allergic to, right? Allergic response is easy because as soon as you eat something, that's your anaphylactic shock, or, people will break out in hives. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about IgG response, which is a delayed response. It can happen a couple of days later. People will get headaches, joint pain, bloating. So it's important that the most common food groups are tested, right? And some people are also sensitive to different types of lectins. So that is on the first appointment with me, we look at microbiome, food sensitivity. And oftentimes when people eat the same thing over and over again, they tend to have food sensitivities to it, which I find absolutely fascinating. The other thing is people who believe, okay, well, I'm not eating high sugar in my diet, but they don't realize that eating a lot of fruit, drinking lots of smoothies actually is a lot of sugar in the diet, drinking fruit juices, and that could create microbiome imbalance. So this is where high overpopulation of candida and fungus happens. This is where the gut becomes a mess, can lead to leaky gut, besides all the other toxins that are sprayed on food like glyphosates and toxic metals, which also is important to test. This is something that I prepare for the quantum analysis or the quantum wellness hour. So I test everything 2 hours prior to the appointment, and we find out what is happening in that person's system. So not only are all the organs checked, I check the spine as well. And if it's needed, that I refer them out to see a very specific type of practitioner. And it's globally, like we've had to recently find somebody for a client that I have in the UK. And there's only one person in London that does this kind of work. So it is very specific. It is precision medicine. It's not people that I know, but, together we can figure out who is in your area that could support that particular thing, right? So it is important to fix the gut, to adjust your diet to what is the right kind of nutrition for you. I don't believe in any diets at all, although I do believe in eliminating certain things. Like you talked about sugar, alcohol is something that I recommend cutting out completely. Not only is it creating leaky gut, it's really eating away at our brain. There's a lot of research now coming out with how it's impacting our brain, our gut. It's also linked to different types of cancer. So that is the other thing that I say eliminate. And it can be hard for some people. But other than that, I don't have a specific diet because I don't believe in diets.
So you look more at what is adversely affecting them, it sounds like, is what I'm hearing, right? Like, okay,
creating fire in the body, inflammation. Yes, because we want to put the fires out.
Okay, let's eliminate the inflammation, basically, as far as the diet goes. Okay, so interesting. What was really interesting to me is a couple of things you said that, again, I listen to a lot of things, but I'm always hearing new things along the way, right? I constantly hearing new things at the same time. So this idea of your food sensitivities, like some people may not know, like, from what I've heard, and research I think shows this, is it's the glyphosate that actually is creating a lot of these food sensitivities, right?
Yes.
Like peanuts, for example. So, but that actually you could become too sensitive to something if you eat it too frequently, too much as possible, at least, right? So, and then again, I've heard people eat things for decades and decades and decades and live to 100 and are healthy, and so everybody's individual, but for some people they might be toxic to that food and eventually become ill by eating it repeatedly, right? Or so you are someone that like believes, I know you're not into diets, but some people I've had other people on with just even more on the food, but like they're into like you should eat like 100 foods, and because it diversifies the microbiome, right? So are you, but I'm not hearing that so much so far from you. are you of that mind? Because that, to me, that's crazy making. I got to figure out 100 foods to eat, and I mean, okay, well, what other things can I, get at the supermarket, and then keeps mixing it up. I'm gonna drive myself nuts trying to eat all these different foods. So yeah, but mostly it sounds like let's eliminate what's toxic, and then maybe we optimize. I don't know, but tell me more about
Yeah,
it.
just to get back to what you just said,
Yeah.
looking into historically the amount of toxicity people had, and we can say, for example, 40 years ago, if a person was to give their blood to urine test, let's say maybe there were up to 80 toxic, toxins in their bloodstreams. Now the results and the data is showing it's up to 500. So our crops are being sprayed, right? Chemtrails are also dumping stuff. So even organic crops, if you test, 80% of them have glyphosates. There is aluminum. Aluminum is a huge problem. And oftentimes I'll test people that come to see me, and they're like, I don't even use aluminum in my diet. I use aluminum-free deodorants. So where is it coming from? And I'll say it's coming from our crops. So do I believe in variety of foods? Absolutely. I also believe it's important to eat fermented foods. And I'm not talking about kombucha, because kombucha oftentimes also is high in sugar. I'm talking about things like kimchi, sauerkraut, pickles. It's important that we feed our gut bacteria things that are going to support it, right? Because the bacteria, good bacteria, supports our digestion. So it's really about creating healthy terrain. Because when you have healthy terrain, it's very difficult. It becomes a challenge for any disease to happen in our physical system. So that's where the focus should be, and how to feed our body to where it's optimally functioning. Yes, and
Right.
I mean, I don't know about 100 foods. I don't eat 100 things a day.
Right.
Yeah, but having a variety. And again, for example, some people can have a lot of raw foods, and other people can't digest it. Again, that depends on your own microbiome. Are you digesting it? And maybe you do need help with digestive enzymes. So again, this has to be decided together with your healthcare provider.
Right. Now, some people would say, wait a minute, on the alcohol, what about all that red wine they say is so healthy for you? So what's your take on that?
Well, alcohol is sugar. So imagine, oftentimes people will say to me, I don't eat sugar, but then if you ask them how much alcohol they consume, right? So there is new data. I don't know if you saw, actually, Dr. Aman just talked about it. I think there was a scan of 10,000 patients they've done over I don't know how many years. They looked at their brain. It actually destroys your brain. So if anything besides your gut, it actually is volatile to your brain. And we do have gut-brain axis, gut-brain connection, right? So if that means that the gut is a mess, brain is going to be inflamed, brain is on fire. I don't think that study, was very accurately done years ago, because they just looked at the resveratrol. I'm not sure if they actually extracted resveratrol from wine, from red grapes, and looked at that. I know many people have been taking resveratrol in high doses. So perhaps that is what is being looked at, right? Because I think they gave resveratrol to mice as well. And that's very different if you're extracting resveratrol versus drinking alcohol.
Yeah, there's been a lot of controversy on that one. Like, no, it totally works. No, these studies show it totally isn't doing anything, and it may be even detrimental or whatever. Like, I've heard all kinds of things on that.
He said, I heard Dr. Aman actually say recently that alcohol is going to be looked at in the future as how smokers, the cigarettes are being looked at the moment. And you're seeing a massive decline, right, in smoking, although vaping is going up. But the cigarette smoke has gone down drastically over the last 30 years. So he believes this is where the alcohol shift is going to happen. And I'm actually seeing it more and more with people.
Interesting. That's very interesting, with all those brain scans and everything that are done, right? And it's like, look at the brain, look at this is creating this problem, that problem. I saw a special once, I must say though, on the brain stuff, where they're looking at people's brains to see, what's different between a brain of somebody who gets like dementia or Alzheimer's or whatever versus other people. And they're like, here we found there's Swiss cheese in the brain right here, whatever. I'm just making up the terms right now. But they're like, look at this thing. And then, but then they're like, whoops, no, that's not true. Because look at this person's brain. They got the same problem in the brain, but they don't have the problem. And even I think that, I think it's that doctor, you said Dr.
Amen.
Amen, right? Amen, I'm trying to pronounce it right. But I think it was him, it was somebody like him who said, who told somebody that's really successful, went to him for a brain scan, and he's like, man, your brain's a mess. I don't know how you're successful. Like, so in other words, like sometimes there's a correlation for sure, but is it causation? You know, that's always what's so
What is
fascinating.
the cause? That's right. What is the cause?
Yeah.
They are finding, though, that glyphosate, by the way, crosses blood-brain barrier. So that settles in the brain, and it goes and in aluminum as well. So it's very difficult to bind aluminum, especially from the brain, because of the glyphosate issue. So those two right now, I would say, are being looked at. And I think it's an important area to address and test patients for.
Totally. I mean, I think that that's where I like him doing all these brain scans and everything, right? He's the brain scan guy from what I remember. But so he's looking at all these brains, and they are discovering things that they had no clue about before. We're doing all these interventions, but you know, they're not looking at like people's brains, and yeah, that it is. It's fascinating. I think with anything, it's like everything. Again, I know you're the expert, but I have my strong opinions to say. But like, I think everything's a data point, right? Yeah, totally could indicate this or that. But we always have to look at holistically to get back to what you really are doing with the whole thing is holistically to look at it and see, is that really the issue though? Is that really the underlying issue? And isn't that, you know, part that's what you're always doing, right? And
Yes. And I actually will say that the true science, this is what science is evolutionary. It's not meant to be where it was a year ago, 5 years ago. So whatever things we're discovering today, it's shifting. So I do believe that science is very important to look at. It's important to look at data, but it's just as important to understand the totality of how everything connects. The science of epigenetics as well, which means how our environment, which is our thoughts, the foods that we eat, right? How we live our life. How does it impact our gene expression? So it is a holistic approach. It is about your thoughts, your emotions. How do you process things? What kind of things do you eat? What kind of, air do you breathe? And then what happens on a cellular level. So all of it is important to look at. I do believe medicine is shifting into it slowly, but it's happening. And this is, for me, one of my passions, is to educate as many practitioners as possible in my quantum healer training.
Yeah, because the top experts, and you would be included in this, we're wise and we know a lot of things and we help a lot of people. We've got the testimonials. It works. Okay. There's no question about it. And I know, like you said, it evolves, like science evolves, our perspective evolves. And so there's the very top experts. I'm not just saying just you or, any particular person. They all evolve in their thinking. I used to think this thing was so important. Now I still think it's kind of important, but my God, it's not that important compared to this thing, right? And so people's thinking and perspective has evolved, and I think that's so cool, because we're evolving past the one size fits all. We all should be doing this one thing or whatever. To no, I mean we need individualized, customized approaches where, like you say, you're looking at them, you know better than me 1,000,000%, but like the microbiome and, what parasites might you have, the bacteria with bacteria and everything, et cetera, the blood levels, whatever, all these different things we can take a look at and to be able to say, okay, specifically given all the data, not just those things, but your history, this, that, epigenetics, whatever, everything, like, okay, here's the plan. Here's what the steps are. And you can map it out at every level rather than people being like piecemeal. When I go to my spiritual person, they say one thing, then my Western doctor says another thing, and then, my functional doctor has another plan for me. And what I would see with someone like yourself is like sometimes you are just kind of the answer, right? And then sometimes, like you said, you have to refer out for specialization in certain areas. Well, where do you want to start? Where's home base would be someone like yourself and the people that you've trained, right? I mean, because they can look at it now on every level, like every doctor, in my opinion, should be able to do ultimately, right? That's where we're
Yes.
headed.
Yeah, I wanted to share something that I found interesting, and it's also very important that as a healthcare provider, it's important that you keep your ego in check, and I'll share why. Because as information is evolving, being in this major ego, you get stuck in the way, right? And you close the doors to what's possible. During COVID, a lot of information came out, and I've discovered, actually interviewed an amazing physician. She's a clinical trial expert, Dr. Sabine Hazen. I don't know if you're familiar with her work.
No.
Okay, she was actually the first person in the lab in the world that was able to sequence COVID in the stool. And she's discovered something phenomenal. So yes, during tragic times on our earth, in humanity, there's things that are coming out. There's scientists that truly care to help human beings. And she was, as a result of her work and her discoveries, I had to also adjust of exactly what kind of microbiome I wanted to test that was critical in someone's health. And the findings that are showing up right now, and all the data is pinpointing, is for people, for example, that have had COVID, including me, and why, for example, some people get it and others are just asymptomatic. That has to do with your microbiome. Something that's, for example, is bifidobacteria, right? There's different varieties of bifidobacteria. Also, people who are vaccinated, that completely wipes out your bifidobacteria. So this is an important new kind of research that's coming out from physicians that care, that are sharing this information. So if you were to go to a metaphysical person, you would never know that this is important to replenish in your system. You do want someone to look at that and to test it and see, why is your immune system, for example, weakened? Why is it that you got this and somebody else didn't? So why is it that, for example, some people, there's also research showing, like people who have Alzheimer's, right? It's also linked to bifidobacteria. Not only is it linked to aluminum and glyphosates, but it's linked to the type of bacteria that's in your gut. And so are the kids that have autism. They're also finding there's a link between that and brain function.
Yes. Yeah, people are like, well, it's the vaccines. They're giving people autism. Now
It's
it
a
seems like it's
combination of
more,
all, right?
could
It's
be both, right? Yeah, you know better than me, but
for
now
sure.
I'm hearing what you've been hearing, right? It's all the other environmental things, the
It's a
glyphosate,
perfect
maybe the
storm.
aluminum. Who knows? I've heard that's a
Yes.
factor too. So yeah,
Yeah.
so what can we do, with things like that? I mean, I also want to talk to you briefly about scalar technology today too, to really get quantum. So, but let's talk about like what can people do? So you're like, oh, like sometimes, like I had my daughter ask, well, I've heard organic doesn't matter because it's still getting chemicals, and I'm like, it's still better, it's still superior to something that's directly sprayed upon and everything. So what can we do to, given that we can't, like we can't take it out of the atmosphere ourselves, and we can't control
Yeah.
that, but what can we do to make our foods, the healthy foods that we do want to eat, to be healthier for us? Because there's
Yes.
washings we can do, certain things we can do. What do you recommend?
So I will say it's important to optimize your bodily functions. So you can't avoid toxins. There's a lot more toxins in foods that are non-organic. That is true. If you're eating meats, it's important that you eat grass-fed beef or organic chicken, wild-caught fish. You don't want to eat farm-raised products. So start there. It's important that you manage your stress level, because anytime you're stressed, which is most of the industrialized societies around the world, you're creating constant chronic inflammation. And that inflammation is leading to something that's called leaky gut, or intestinal gut permeability. So we tend to be more sensitive to things that normally we wouldn't react to. So stress management, proper sleep, getting enough sunlight. So for those, right now we're approaching summer month, it's important that we go outside and allow our body to absorb at least 30 minutes without sunscreen of vitamin D. For those that live in the northern climates, it's important that you take enough vitamin D. It's also important that you test your vitamin D level. You want to be above 65 to avoid any kind of cancer, to support your immune system. Again, we talked about microbiome, knowing what kind of microbes support you, to see perhaps that you have some kind of foreign substances in your system, like parasites, bacteria, candida, fungus, right? So you want to eliminate that or create balance. So there's more of the good bugs versus the bad bugs. And then again, eliminate toxins in your system. So it means you have to sweat. Moving your body is key. Most people in United States, I don't know if your audience is mostly in United States, but US lifestyle is very sedentary unless people live in New York City or LA or Boston. Most people live in suburbs and they don't really move, right? So if you look at populations around the world, like the blue zone people, why do they live so long? Why is it that they don't have cancer, heart disease, diabetes? Because they're active. So, and they enjoy life. So it's important that we get out there, we walk. We also have a sense of community. I think sense of community is something that is natural to who we are. So connecting with people, having a sense of meaning. So it's not just a one suggestion that will, fix it all, but again, it's a combination of everything.
Yeah, I was listening to Huberman, Dr. Huberman and Dr. Attia today. And Dr. Attia was saying, and he's been saying it for a long time, but because of his own journey, but he's like, yeah, sometimes we're so optimized on the physical and everything, but if you don't have the emotional, aspects, if you don't get that taken care of, all the rest may not even matter. Like you'll just be taken out by, by all that bad energy and stress, emotionally or whatever, energetically. So I think that's not talked about enough with health, right?
Yeah.
We don't talk about, and then people could go to one extreme. Oh, that's all about high vibration and feeling good and relation. That's the only thing. I'm like, yeah, okay, again, we're in the wrong place. But like, there's a foundation. It's huge. It's very preventative. I've heard multiple, these experts they show online say like that really, after they go on and on about food, they'll say, oh yeah, by the way, this is actually probably the number one thing.
Yeah. And COVID showed us something remarkable, right? Because we were all locked up and every single country around the world experienced it. And what do we see? Rise in depression, rise in mental disorders, right? What does it say to us? That we are meant to be in communities. I can tell you that for me, my resolution for this year is to create more gatherings with people in my hometown, because during COVID, I was in front of, and my work is in front of my computer all day long. So besides my kids, my partner, this was my reality. And I thought, I love people and I want to create that sense of community. And if you look at longevity, again, as I said, for men, they did the biggest study, right? Harvard study. They looked at what is it that makes men live healthier, longer lives. And it had to do with healthy relationships, healthy partnerships. So I think that should be a priority for most people, is to get out there and start looking for people, like-minded people that make you feel good, to where perhaps you get together, you play games, you go on walks together, but you have a sense of community. We need more of that.
Yeah, oh man, yeah, I've been, thirsting for even more, even though I belong to a church, but we get busy with other, functions we go to when we get to church. But yeah, I mean, these things are very, very, I've seen studies too, where people who are churchgoers live an extra 10 or 15 years, just because they regularly go to church.
Unity.
I mean, they're huge preventative factors. I remember going to church one week when I was going regularly. I'd be like, just even the idea, I'm giving myself 10 or 15 more amazing years by being here today. Everybody laughed at me. It's incredible. I love that. And I wanted to share it with everybody because the importance of that. So we could go on for hours and hours here. We're not that long of a form of a podcast yet. Maybe that's coming. My other longest podcast so far was on, this sort of stuff. So no wonder it's going a bit long. But I do want to talk about that scalar technology, because I had someone approach me recently, and that's all they do. They just do scalar technology, and the way it's presented by some people is like, oh, whatever you got, we put the scalar technology on that sucker, and bang, it's gone, baby. So that's how it comes across. What's the reality? What is scalar technology, and what does it really do?
So there's different technologies on the market. Some that are random number generators, which are most common. I don't use that one because it's always 50-50. It's important that you have a person that knows how to read another person using the technology. So there, again, there's different types of technologies. I'm not a fan of random number generator, which that's the most popular one. How do I feel about that? I've had somebody approach me and say, Elena, I'm wearing this device. I just push a button and I'm healed. And, to me, again, it's the same conversation. I call it the spiritual bypassing, as if you were to go to the doctor and ask for a prescription. Mm-hmm. Because again, you're taking your power away by saying that there is something else outside of you that's going to fix it. Now, do I use it? 100% I do, but I don't use it by itself. I've never seen it work by itself. For me, it's complementary form of treatment, you can say, support. But if you did not support the physical system, I don't care how many scalar wave sessions you're going to send. Mm-hmm. If that thing is in the system, whatever that is, let's say parasites, bacteria, your microbiome is off, scalar wave technology is not going to rebuild your bifidobacteria. It is not going to increase your vitamin D level if it's at 20 to 65. Mm-hmm. It is not going to support your adrenal glands if you have lack of magnesium in your system. So again, I think it's incredibly powerful. It can be used as complementary service, but it should not be looked at as a one kind of thing that fixes everything. So in my case, I use it as part of the services that I offer, but never as a standalone.
Yeah, somebody might be listening and saying, yeah, but it cured my cancer, or yeah, but it did, so aren't there one-off, they say anecdotal, evidence that, it did this in one case here or there. I mean, what do you say about that? I mean, you're saying—
I will say that perhaps it's a mindset that shifted with that person.
Right. Totally. I believe it's going to work, and that it does, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
I think so. I agree with that to a degree. I think there's probably something to it. I don't really understand it. I probably need a longer show to really get into the depths of what you understand about it. So I'm pretty clueless. I don't know much about it at all.
But scalar wave is basically it's a wave of you could say energy wave that is used. It's faster than a speed of light. So it's tapping into the biofield. Biofield is a record keeper of absolutely everything, right? Not just on an individual basis, but collectively. So it's a record keeper of history. And you can shift things in the future by going back into the past and healing things in the past. So there's many ways it could be used, right? We use it with Alejandro also to read vibrational frequencies of people, tapping into ancestral trauma to see what event situations had happened, what emotions have been passed on from ancestor to the person that is seeking help. So there's many ways it could be helpful, but it is using the biofield to read and scalar waves. So again, it depends on who the practitioner is, how it's being used. Is it random number generator or not? So there's many nuances, which I think right now we're in the explosive phase because there's so many different gadgets coming out. But I just want people to know that by pushing a button, you're giving your power away. If you're using it as complementary to what your medical provider, a great medical provider, is suggesting, I would say, why not?
Yeah. Okay.
But remember, that's not, the ultimate thing that's going to fix everything.
Right. Which I suspected it was, and that's why I wanted to talk about it in part two. Okay, cool. So, yeah, as people are getting more and more interested in what you're saying and want to get more help, maybe they're thinking, hey, I want to reclaim more vibrancy and health in my life, and I want to approach this more holistic. And yeah, we can go all the way from scalar wave technology to beliefs to vibration, and all the way down to the microbiome, and like it's their jam. They want a comprehensive, very comprehensive kind of approach. What next steps could they take? And specifically, I know you had something you wanted to share with people for them to learn more and follow up with you. So could you tell them about that?
Yes, of course. I'm happy to offer my free masterclass. So for those people that are interested, the free masterclass, I believe, Daniel, you'll put a link
Mhm.
for that.
Mhm.
It's a great class. And then afterwards, of course, it leads into an 8-week program, which is based on my book, Holistic Wisdom, Awakening Your Inner Healer. And it goes into body, heart, mind, and soul. So there's very specific things you can incorporate in your daily life. Like, for example, I teach you how to self-test yourself for different food sensitivities, which I think is important. There's different protocols that I also teach in that class. For those people that are medical providers, or I've had actually massage therapists, or anyone who really cares about health, you're welcome to attend my training, in-person training. I only offer it twice a year. It's coming up in September, which is Holistic Quantum Healer. And this is life-changing. It takes a year to complete. So first we meet in person, and then I give support via Zoom and interactive case study presentations. So that is another great place if you're open to that. If you're wanting a comprehensive approach to your own health, you can book a quantum health or quantum wellness appointment. So it takes me usually 2 hours to prepare for the 1-hour call. And we go through everything, that I discover, and give people precision, customized protocols that are necessary for them to incorporate so they can live a happy and more fulfilling, healthier life.
Mhm. Great. And so we'll put the links in. Of course, I'm sure if you look up Dr. Elena, you'll find her, out there, but it's, you can go to holistic.com with a W. And then the masterclass, we're going to put a link below in the show notes for you to check that out. And if you have any issues finding it, if you're listening to somewhere where there are no show notes, I always tell people, just go to my blog at yoursacredpurpose.com, and you can find the episode, there as well. Or just, hey, just reach out to me at yoursacredpurpose.com. Hey, where's that webinar? And we'll send you the link. Okay. Just go through the contact form. All right. So we're at that time of the show where I like to do some couple of 2-3 downloads. I always say 2 or 3, but it's always 3 downloads for my guests. Whatever comes to the quantum, I ready to receive.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, let's see. All right. All right. Let me just get centered and tune in. Okay, so yeah, there's this mystical aspect of your energy I'm getting shown. They're showing me like these keys. You got keys on the mystical level. So I don't know if you do currently do any work with people on that deeper, because we didn't really talk about it, but like on a deeper quantum level, that mystical level. But I sense that there is expansion that can happen there in your practice and what you're doing there. The specifics, I don't know, that would take more time to get into, but I just get this deep mystical energy. um it feels like it could be a transmission, sort of this deeper transmission. It's sort of like an instant kind of diagnosis and knowing, right? So you're that person, people that work on something a lot, like they've developed incredible intuition about that particular thing, right? So you could, yeah, they're gonna have heavy metals. I can feel it already, right? So you have these abilities to pick up on things before you do all the formal testing. The testing will verify, but a lot of times you'll know certain things in advance, and you'll just get a sense of like something will come in, you get knowings, like I just know this is the solution. I just know this is the answer for them, when maybe other tests can't really pick up on it, but you just have a knowing. Like, I just know this is going to do it. And then even you are probably blown away a lot of times, like, oh wow, that did work. All right, cool. Like, so and then there's this mystical transmission. So anyway, I go on and on. We're going to leave it there for now. Let's see what other downloads want to come through. Yeah, just want to know where you are. They keep showing me that part. Let's see what else is going on. The angels are showing me from the back. Again, if you don't, angels don't work for you because they just higher vibrational energy. Whatever works, it's like I just get the sense of going higher into frequency and energy. So there is an energy that says, hey, let's go higher in the frequency. And you're very like, no BS, let's get down to business. So you're really excited about going high vibration, but part of your energy might be like, wait a minute, we're just getting the feet off the ground too much. So there's maybe some of that keeps the vibrational frequency of going higher, and bringing in more of that into your field. So I'm just seeing that. So again, doesn't mean that hasn't happened, but it's just like there's more available. Okay, let's see what the last thing coming through is. Yeah, I think you got there's a lot of the information that comes through. So the thing I want to share is yeah, you really are, you are a great channel. So ideas will come to you that are most profound and like out of the blue. So you would do well to, if you don't already, like to take voice notes, like, oh, I'm getting this download. All right, blah, 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 blah. So like you get these downloads of information that are coming through that might be totally innovative new approaches to things. And you got to capture them while they come, because some of them you'll kind of forget about or just neglect. You'll be like, yeah, I kind of had that idea before, but what? So to capture it in I'm getting something about capturing some certain ideas in a moment. Yeah, just so you have so much to share. So anyway, I'm gonna stop there, but quick reflections or thoughts about what came through, Elena?
Yes, amazing. I'll say, because we didn't talk about this part and I never shared it with you. I do have psychic abilities, 100%. I do have deep knowing. Actually, there's a couple of programs that are on my website that are completely channeled. One of them is called Ignite Your Codes of Consciousness. And I took over 200 people online on that journey, and it was recorded live. So this was complete transmission of the information that came through. So you're spot on.
Got it.
Information does come to me. And that's usually how I like to work. So I'm always innovating new things. And I always say, it's not me. I just surrender to the higher. I just trust the universe and the guidance that I receive, and I surrender to it, and information comes through. And a lot of times it's the innovations, new things that are really out there. And I've had people say to me, actually somebody that I just saw recently, I haven't seen her in years, she said, Elena, when you did this work in 2007, no one really even talked about these things. So I will say yes to, it's amazing, Daniel, what you're channeled. And yes, the deep knowing is part of a process that I had to learn to trust, also working with people. And understanding that when I surrender, because initially when I started doing this work, my logical mind would kick in. But there is this beautiful aspect that exists in all of us, and this is the deep knowing, the intuition. So I had to surrender, let go of my logical mind, surrender to the intuitive aspects, and yes, verify with logic later.
Right.
It's a dance.
My friend Dr. Sumorter once said from stage many years ago, she says, the mind's always the last to know. I love that perspective. Like the mind thinks, no, listen to me first. No, listen to the channel first. The mind will, land with it later when things are done really well. So, that's really cool. So I thank you for that reflection. I'm grateful that what came through. And people want to check me out, you can go to yoursacredpurpose.com. There is the opportunity to get a Rock Your Sacred Purpose energy scan consultation for me. I'll tune into you, along these lines, but we also try to get it more practical. Therefore, what wants to happen right now in your business, what new opportunities could be happening through what I'm picking up on the most right now for you. So check that out at yoursacredpurpose.com. Rock Your Sacred Purpose energy scan consultation if you're ready to rock, okay? And then I have my free meditate and make money meditation, opens up your energies, your chakras, gets you your downloads, your guidance, strengthens your money vibration then, and you just become more in the knowing. You just find more great things happening financially. So get your free meditate and make money meditation, and also learn the 4 ways to meditate and make more money at yoursacredpurpose.com. All right. So, wow, Elena, I find people like yourself that are, that's a deep one. If you're deep spiritual and then you've got health information, I could talk forever on this stuff because I'm so fascinated by it. So thank you for providing all that you've provided today. I'm so grateful for you being coming on as a guest today.
Thank you so much, Daniel. This was fun. I appreciate what you have done for me at the end. I think this is totally spot on. I love it. And again, you don't really know my work completely. So this was really for those people that are curious. I would say, yes, go for it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Like I always say, keep on tuning in. We'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time.
The Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.